Hello and welcome back to the Remembering Tuscola webcast. I'm David Porter. I'm here with Mike Carroll and Bill Englehardt, two of Tuscola's finest. We didn't talk about your introductions ahead of time this week, so I didn't have anything prepared.
Two of the finest. Who are finer?
Mm.
Who, who do we need to work on?
I'm not for
Bill
sure.
McCarty left town.
Bill McCarty left town.
Yeah.
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 Jack dead.
Yeah. Kenny Huber's
Oh,
gone.
Tenny Huba.
Yeah. Cutting hair.
Well, David, thank you for the introduction.
We appreciate it, David.
Yeah.
We're both missing our old government teacher in high school, Olga
Olga
Hall.
Hall. She would teach us about separation of power.
Mhm.
He was my
There no longer is any separation.
she was my teacher as well. There's no separation of power. Do
There's no
tell.
longer any separation of power. It's been fused.
Do,
Olga.
yeah, do tell Mike. I'm tired of getting all the fan mail.
Olga was best, though.
She was.
She would be teaching history, and she was good.
Mhm.
But then she'd lapse into family stories from West Virginia, Parkersburg, West Virginia,
Parkersburg.
about what it was like, and we all paid attention. That was the most interesting part of the class, was when she talked about her life moving here from Parkersburg. She really missed West Virginia.
Well, now correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. You're a constitutional lawyer, right?
I got a high C.
Well, that was just what you drank with your lunch.
That's right.
Orange.
Now the three branches of government are separate, but am I mistaken? Are they not also equal?
Co-equal.
They're equal.
Yeah.
It's to balance.
So one is not over the other.
That's right.
Yeah, they're always in tension. They're always in tension of who really runs the show. Way back, I think it was Woodrow Wilson. I'm not sure who I'm talking about. Could have been earlier. But the most powerful person was Uncle Joe Cannon from Tuscola, Czar Cannon, Speaker of the House. He actually ran the nation. So Congress exerted too much power. What you've seen over the last 12 years, started with Obama probably. Biden accelerated, and Trump's taken it to a whole new interplanetary level, is the administrative state. They're using executive orders like crazy, like laws that are good for short terms. Congress is just absolutely. I think in my last article I said, Congress is totally. What is a good word to use on Congress? It's not functional. It's not needed. They're worthless.
Mine's not repeatable.
Yeah. So yeah, and he's also pushing. There was just an article today on in Turkey, Erdogan, the premier. He's just jailed his opponent, alleging he controls the judiciary. He controls the law enforcement branch. So he jailed his number one opponent, charged him with money laundering, all kinds of stuff. It's all made up. He controls the press. He controls the Federal Reserve. In fact, there was a funny story on the Federal Reserve in Turkey. They were having inflation some years ago, and the election was coming up. And they said, we have to raise the interest rate to about 7%. And Erdogan thought that would hurt his chances for re-election. So he just fired all of them. And he himself became charged of the currency and lowered the rates. Well, he got elected, but the result was a couple years later, inflation hit 80% in Turkey. 80%. But anyway, the article said he's got total control of Turkey now. He controls the press, he controls the judiciary, he controls all the federal bureaucracy, he controls Congress. And they said Turkey now resembles Russia more than Russia resembles Russia. So that's what happens. People get in power. They want to consolidate power. They want to expand power. And if the institutions of the nation are not strong enough, if the people aren't strong enough to resist, that you can lose all your balance of power, and you can wind up with an autocrat. The question with America has always been, Trump's first term, it held together, despite the assaults, even the physical assault on the Capitol. you know, trying to claim they won the election. That's a banana republic kind of thing. And so he's pushing his boundaries today. He's pushing it as far as he can. He's suing newspapers like CBS for the interview with Harris.
Oh,
He sued the Des Moines Register because they did a poll that showed Harris was winning, and he can outspend them on these suits. And so he's trying to chill the press. I mean, look at Washington Post. Jeff Bezos was a liberal, never liked Trump. He's so powerful that Bezos wound up giving in.
mhm.
He wouldn't endorse Harris in the presidency. Half of his editorial staff quit in protest because he rolled over. He gave $1 million to Trump's inauguration campaign. And then he signed a book deal with Melania for 40 million bucks for her documentary. So, you know, when democracy, you know, what's the old saying? When democracy ends, when people quit standing up for it. So he's consolidating tremendous power across the landscape. And I've written about this. My hope is the judicial branch is strong enough to withstand it. They're putting tremendous pressure on. They're belittling them. They're threatening them. They're mentioning their kids and their families. It's horrible what they're doing. It's a national disgrace what they're doing.
I do want to back up a little bit. I didn't want to jump in while you were making your point, but you know, when it comes to the executive orders, I know a big deal was made out of it when Obama said, you know, I've got a pen, I can do this on my own.
Elections have consequences.
But I had looked into this before, and I just looked it up just now. Uh, Obama had a total of 276 executive orders, which is fewer than George W. Bush, fewer than Bill Clinton, fewer than Ronald Reagan, fewer than Jimmy Carter, fewer than Richard Nixon, fewer than Lyndon Johnson.
Hmm.
So
It's been, but the past executive orders were pretty minor stuff. They're using executive orders now for major stuff. For example,
for things that hadn't been done before.
yeah, I mean, saying
Right.
there's only a man and a woman, or there's the Gulf of Mexico is now the Gulf of America. That's pretty minor, to be honest with you. I don't know why he's messing with that, but some of the executive orders are, for example, you will end DEI not only in government, you'll end it out in the private industry.
Right.
He's going after colleges, going after everybody. That's a major, powerful policy shift, and I think it ought to come from Congress. But Congress is so dysfunctional that a lot of people, there are some people that say the executive branch has gone to executive orders because of the dysfunction of Congress. They can't get anything done, and the nation just has to react to situations in the world. Tariffs, for example, some of these tariffs should be declared by Congress, not him.
Oh yeah. Just for sake of history, again, 276. The record, Franklin D. Roosevelt, 3,721 executive orders.
Yeah, bad
It
time.
was wartime, depression in wartime.
Wilson had 1,800. Coolidge had 1,200. Herbert Hoover had over 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And
How about Trump's hero, McKinley?
and George Washington had 8. McKinley had 185.
Executive orders, in other words, Congress has the power of the purse and passes the bills to say establish, for example, establish the Department of Education.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a law. It's funded by Congress. What the president does is he's in charge of the executive branch to execute congressional laws and orders. So past executive orders have almost always been directed at his own administration to say, here's how I'm going to execute this thing, blah, blah, blah. Here's how I want my people to do this. It's always directed internally at his own administration and dealt with how to execute the laws of Congress. What we're finding out now is Congress is so dysfunctional, and they write their laws. What laws they do pass are so general, like what was the Inflation Reduction Act that Congress passed for Biden. Biden's executive orders just filled it all in, you know. Biden's the one, and I got to say this: everybody's so mad at the Department of Defense, and they got a black general, and they got this, and they got that. They became woke. That was all Biden's executive orders saying you will adopt DEI and embed them in all your practices, procurements, hiring, and everything. So when Trump came in, rather than get mad at the Department of Defense and all these agencies, he could have just revoked the DEI orders. Why punish the people? All that Austin was doing as Department of Defense chair was implementing an order from his commander. So you don't have to sweep the cabinet out and fire by sight and fire all the women generals and all the black generals. It wasn't their fault. And it's the same thing with federal employees. You know, you're firing these federal employees and you're cheering like they're bad people. All they did was apply for a job, David. You know,
Right.
don't blame them. Blame the Congress and executive that have bloated. The bureaucracy is bloated because the Congress and the executive allowed it to be. That's who hired them. That's who funds them. That's who pays them. So I just think it's all messed up right now. Really messed up.
I'm sure
And
you
some
probably have seen the list of words that have been purged.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, it's a that's the cultural wars. There's a bunch of things going on. The cultural wars. The Democrats really went too far in the cultural wars. They went overboard, and the public was, for example, just allowing a transgender male to come in and dominate female sports. I think like 89% of Americans don't think that's right. So the Democrats really were clinging to a losing issue there, wrong or right. It was not popular. So he grabbed some he grabbed some low-hanging fruit. And let me ask you this: cutting the government in half. What's his justification? Waste, fraud, and inefficiency. Well, that's a winning argument. Who in the world says I'm for waste, fraud, and inefficiency?
well,
Nobody.
yeah,
But are they really getting rid of waste, fraud, and inefficiency, or
right.
are they having to cut the government because he's got a huge tax because he's issuing $4.5 trillion in tax breaks?
Right.
You know, he's got to cover it somehow for his right wing Freedom Caucus. It says we got a burgeoning federal deficit, even with their correction, even with their $4.5 trillion tax cut that's negative. All the cuts they're supposed to come up with, efficiency and fraud is 2 million. So there's still a $2 trillion deficit growing. They haven't balanced the budget. They haven't stopped the hemorrhaging. It's a
one of the things I have to, I've talked about with my wife that I have to kind of balance out is that, well, there's so many things going on that I don't like. I have to keep in mind that some of them are good things. Some of them need to be done. Government probably needed to be trimmed down and need to find efficiencies. But what they're doing is just making, taking a sledgehammer where they need a scalpel.
Yeah.
And
I think you're right. I agree with a lot of these policies. I've written about bureaucratic bloat, working in the government, and how there's a lot of inefficiency.
I think what we're missing from my standpoint is we're missing those people in Congress that used to stand up, had a word, and you respected what they said and what they did.
Well, but Lisa,
I'm not seeing it.
think about
Murawski.
Think about the power of the internet
Yeah.
and money in politics. Lisa Murkowski came out and said
Yeah.
that Elon Musk said, if you don't start falling in line and vote for this stuff, I will spend millions and primary you. So they've all been threatened with primaries. Now, my response to that would be, well, primary me. Well, who gives you a crap? I'm a person. I'm going to be a congressman. I'm a powerful person. I'm going to do what I think is right. If the people don't want me, put somebody else in there. I'll go fishing. I'll get another job.
right.
But they're all
weak need.
They're all weak need.
They kowtow to this.
But the Democrats have it the same way. The Democrats vote in a block.
Yes, they do.
It's all money now. Nobody, these people that are going in public office want the job really bad.
And that was something that I worked on Bill Englehart's campaign, his first campaign in a communications capacity. And that's one thing that I did was kind of shocking to me is how much the national party dictates what positions you'll have and what you'll say And if you don't, you're not going to get any money from them with your
Yeah.
election.
Well, there was a period when the national parties actually selected who was going to run.
Right.
You didn't even run unless you went in the cigar smoked back room and pled your case, and they said you'll be our candidate. That really, with the open primaries, that really fell apart. The parties lost control there during the, I don't know, 70s, 80s, 90s. And people could go out, somebody you didn't want to run for governor could announce for governor, and that's not who the party wanted. So they lost a little bit of control. But what's happened in the last 10, 20 years, I think, is money, dark money, the big PACs now. The Supreme Court has allowed this. They had a chance to curb the money in politics. They didn't do it some years ago. And so you have someone like Musk who can literally donate hundreds of millions of dollars like he did to Trump. And that's what George Soros did for the Democrats. I imagine that's why billionaires run for office like Pritzker, because they can afford it. Money is too huge in politics now. Yeah. And the average guy doesn't have a chance. So yes, the control now, I remember, and the other thing is the internet. I remember talking, I won't give his name. I was talking to an Illinois senator about something 3, 4, 5 years ago. And I was arguing about this solution to Illinois' debt problem. And he and I agreed to the solution that was being come up. He agreed it made sense, it was reasonable. And about then on his smartphone, he got a thing from the Illinois Policy Institute, the conservative think tank in Chicago, that blasted the proposal. And he said, "Oh my God, I've got to reverse myself." I thought to myself, why would you have to reverse yourself just because the Illinois Policy Institute came out? I mean, that's the way it is today.
Yeah.
They get the smartphone thing. Somebody has Joe Rogan, who has 20 million listeners, comes out and says something. Oh my God, Joe Rogan said this. I'm going to get slammed. 20 million on the internet. These idiots on these influencers, these idiot podcast influencers, got the brain of a skunk, and everybody's out there jumping up and down like the Pied Piper of Hamelin.
Just surprises me that both parties would risk losing a seat rather than help fund a campaign that's not 100% in step with their policies.
Well, it gets even worse than that. The Democrats funded the candidate they wanted. Pritzker, a couple elections ago, who was the guy that ran for governor from downstate, flat top?
Oh, Bailey.
Bailey? Well, there was a black guy from Elgin or somewhere right up in there near Chicago that actually could have beat Pritzker, because he was in the city and he was black and he was a pretty articulate guy. They funded they funded ads for Bailey. They picked the Republican kid, basically used big money to pick the candidate they want to run against.
Yeah.
It's all changed. It always was wicked. I think politics is about power. And I think it's been wicked ever since Cain and Abel.
Well, speaking of politics,
I'm out of it now.
Are they coming to get our podcast?
Our first picture.
Oh,
Vic Borrelio and Jerry. Let me see. Oh, that's okay. On the left is I don't know that isn't Vic Borrelio, but
no,
Mayor Snyder is opening a Republican thing, and on the right is Marvin Jones, the old Republican county chairman from Arthur. And when I was state attorney in '76,
is that Lincoln behind him?
I don't know. I got to tell you one quick story about Marvin Jones. I was running for state attorney in 1976. People put me in on the write-in campaign and against Ed Miller, the Republican. And I called Marvin about a month ago and I said, "Marvin, are you going to endorse me?" He said, "No, you're not our candidate. Ed Miller's our candidate." He said, "You're just a run-in scab." And so, hell, I beat him. I beat Ed Miller. And I got a call the next day from Marvin Jones, said, "You owe $250 to the party. You're now our candidate. You owe $250. I thought, well, how about congratulations? Marvin was pure politics. That was back in the patronage days when, everybody's, Marvin became, for example, he was a bridge inventory specialist for IDOT. He counted the bridges to make sure they didn't leave. And then I will say this for Jim Edgar, good old Jim Edgar. classmate down at Eastern came in and ended patronage, and Marvin was bitching about how Edgar ended patronage. So there have been pockets of integrity in government.
Did you
But
pay the
Marvin ran,
250?
Marvin ran the Republican Party with an iron fist.
Did you pay the 250?
I did, but later, I'll keep this story short. He demanded every employee be run through the Republican Party and pay whatever it was. I had to pay 250, the big guy. Lower people had to pay 100. And I remember Ron Strange came to me, worked for the highway
Oh,
department.
that wouldn't have been
Hey,
good.
partner.
Hey, partner.
And Ron said, they're wanting me to pay $100. And you know, Ron's tighter than bark on a tree.
Hmm.
And he's not a Republican. He says, I'm not going to do it. Can they fire me? And they just had the Elrod decision come down out of Chicago about political patronage. And I said, no, they can't. They cannot fire you. They can make life hard for you. They can't fire you. So about a month later, we're down at Arthur Country Club for a big meal. 300 people, they're Republicans, and Jim Thompson, the governor of Illinois, was there. Speaker, and Marvin Jones stood up and says, and by the way, all you county employees, I want your people's $100. And I don't care if our state attorney does say it's illegal. I want that money. And I'm sitting there in a tight suit and tie, and I just got my butt handed to me by the county sheriff. I don't care if our state attorney does say it's illegal. I just smiled at him. Those were heady days. I've talked too long there on that one. Who's the guy behind him?
I think it's Frank Lincoln.
Could be Frank Lincoln back there.
Well, the guy on the left, Lou Rose, says is Jim Biddle from Newman.
You know what? Lou would know. That was Dan. Which Crane was that? There were two of them. There was Dan. One of them was a dentist, and Dan Bill.
That'd be Dan for Congress.
Hmm.
That
Gary Burr took his office, didn't he?
yeah, he got in trouble after he had a fling with a young page.
Yeah, there were a lot of jokes about that.
Yeah.
Clarence was a great mayor. He really helped Tuscola.
He was a dandy.
He helped Tuscola.
Big pancakes.
Well,
You remember his pancakes covered his plastic serving tray.
Hmm.
well, there were a lot of things that were not really publicly known, which is why I ran against him when I was 18 years old.
Oh, well, you know, Clarence was going to run for president.
Was he?
And I said, what's your plan? He said, I've got an idea. And it was matchbooks. He said, you can buy 1,000 matchbooks for $20. He said, so I can buy 100 million matchbooks for you had it figured out. He said, I'll flood America with my matchbooks.
He had a lot of energy.
He really had a lot of ideas. I like Clarence. He cooked, he was flipping hamburgers with a solid gold Rolex President watch.
A pretty good pizza burger.
I ate it. What they call it, Chez Clarence.
Horrible golfer.
So golf story
God.
is Clarence decided to take up golf for the Tuscola Open. Bought himself a great big bag full of clubs. He walked up on the first tee,
Villa Grove.
and he sliced his ball over inside the cart shed where the carts are kept. It's a metal shed. It's out of bounds. So we watched Clarence drive his cart up there. We watched him go inside the cart shed thinking, well, you know, you get your ball, come out and lay it out, take a penalty and hit. We heard this bang, 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 bang. What in the world? Bang, 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 bang. About the third time, the ball finally flopped out the door, and he walked out with the club and said, boy, that's a tough shot. He was hitting his shot from inside the cart shed.
He had no clue.
He had no clue. Poor Clarence. But it made for a good golf story.
Well, the problem I had is that he had a restaurant downtown, and any fees that he owed to the city, including his water bill, he just didn't pay it.
No, there was a mini scandal there. There was a little bit of favoritism, but he was a nice guy. Dave Bartholomew, my old assistant state's attorney. We can name all of them here, I think.
Yeah, I think so. That's Helen Ziegler on the far left, Harold Hackett, Jack Allen, Pee Wee Cunningham, Bartholomew. You take it.
Dave Bartholomew is my assistant state's attorney, became state's attorney when I left. Denny Dietrich, Stan Weaver.
Jim Riddle.
That's Jimmy Riddle from Villa Grove, I think.
I think it is.
He was chairman of the Douglas
Yeah,
Republican Party later.
Republican, yeah.
He succeeded Marvin. There's a little shop on the prairie.
Looks like they're all dedicating this baby.
Well, it is, yeah.
See that awning back there?
Yeah.
That was my ex-wife's shop. We put that awning on there, a little shop on the prairie.
Yep.
This has got to be about, I would say this is 82, 84, when Dave was running for state's attorney.
1984.
I quit in 82.
1984.
They
That could be Brett.
They appointed Dave to succeed me for 2 years. I joined the Emerson Moore Lemnitz law firm and resigned. And Dave served for 2 years and then ran in 84.
Who's standing behind Dave?
Well, I'm looking.
Can't tell.
I think behind Pee Wee is her husband, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, that'd be Pete.
That might be Ralph Allen. Ralph Allen was the township supervisor, but I don't know.
Oh, parade.
Can you name all these people, Mike?
Yes.
Yes.
First row, third one back on the seventh row is Larry Henderson.
Looking north down Main Street in Tuscola, Illinois. Looks like our band's a little bigger back then, I guess.
Yeah,
84.
we got a couple of these taken off the top of Flesser's Candy Kitchen. I assume that Eric Hastings probably took this picture. I know it wasn't me because I was in the parade that year.
Hmm.
There's another one of the band.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's Buckshot O'Brien.
Yep.
And
Bill Burris's class, wasn't he? About 53.
Somewhere in
45?
there. Somewhere in there.
We know the guy he's with too.
Well, I
Got his
can't.
initials?
Oh, is that Bud Sterrett?
Looks like Bud, his brother-in-law.
yeah,
Yeah. Welch's Colony Room and Lounge.
Used to be Riley's Cafe.
Yeah.
And it's pretty close to the door down into heaven, the Jake's Pool Hall.
Yes, very close to heaven. Yeah, it looks like Bud.
I think it's Bud Sterrett.
Mm-hmm.
that's who it is.
Okay. You know what? This just happened to me the other day. See the girl in the
What?
all the way back?
You fell over?
No, I didn't fall over. The girl all the way in the back, Stacy Schultz. And I saw her the other day in Newman, talked to her briefly, and I didn't recognize her at first.
You know, they always recognize us.
Sweet
we haven't
girl.
changed.
Well, we're the only ones. Yeah, Stacy's changed a little bit. She was a good rebounder, played basketball, and married to the now retired police chief at Arthur.
Goodwin?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mike Goodwin?
Stacy Schultz Goodman. And I know the girl standing, I just can't give you her name. It's Mindy Kibler.
Mindy Mulligan.
Mindy Mulligan, I mean, I'm thinking Kibler. Mulligan. It is Mindy, yeah.
Who's diving?
Karen
Yeah.
Rader.
Who?
Karen Rader.
I didn't know her. That Reverend Rader's daughter, he have a daughter?
That I don't know, but it's spelled the same.
I love the fact the volleyball is right exactly where the basket is.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Made the shot.
Yeah, that's according to Chris Hunter. Says she pulled out her yearbook and number 25 was Karen Rader. There was some debate on Facebook as to who the people were, but I think you got them.
Well, we usually do get them.
Yeah, that's why you're on here.
That's why we're there.
I don't have names on this one.
Go back in it.
No, that's oh, shoot.
Sure.
Sandy graduate. It might be Sandy.
I was gonna say it looks like a Colbecker to me.
It's Sandy
It
Colbeck.
might be Sandy. Just hard. It's kind of hard to see.
Yeah.
Looks like a
A lot
Colbeck.
of these pictures were not great because they're 35 millimeter. They don't scan as well. Look at that.
There's Bob and his softball team.
Dave Quick is the tall fellow standing next to Bob.
Buck Hausman's in the middle. Craig, is that Craig sitting down the bottom?
No,
Awesome.
I think that's Virgil Watts.
Virgil Watts.
Up on the left, near the
Left to right, you got Greg Hastings.
right.
And this, according to Kevin Connor, Dave Page, Virgil Watts, Dave McCrory, Buck Hausman, Rick McGuire, Jim Grimm, Dave Quick, and Bob Hastings.
Where's Rick McGuire at? My cousin?
Oh, wait
Probably
about
back here behind the trophy.
Okay. Okay.
Bob put all the trophies.
Bob used to he loved that softball team and he had a ton of trophies.
I love that car.
Well, that looks like
A hearse.
a 1960 Cadillac hearse.
Yeah, cut down.
Yeah, only because I told you ahead of time.
Oh, we had that.
Come on. Let us have some roses here.
That was my first car. And we've got lots of pictures of it, which I couldn't resist because there's so few pictures of it that exist.
Right.
That I paid $45 for that car.
You told me 50.
No, my $45 the guy wanted $100 and told me he would take 50, and I said, "Oh, I've got is 45." He said, "I'll take it." I drove it for a
David,
year, and then I sold it to Ronnie Earl for $100, and
Northern Rodney's.
he cut off this whole back end and put the front of it in Rock and Rodney's as a DJ booth. Had it painted pink,
Yeah.
but yeah, 1960 Cadillac. Should have kept that car, huh?
Well, yeah.
We'll see more
Okay.
pictures of it.
If I go right to left, the second one is Marianne Albin. Tisha Little is in the middle. Gosh darn. Far left looks like a Willoughby. She's a Willoughby now. I don't know. I can't get them all now.
You're doing pretty good. According to Eric Alexander, left to right, Jennifer Willoughby Russell, Terry Kyle, Tisha Little, Marianne Albin, and Christy Lehman.
Terry Kyle?
That's
Terry Kyle.
Yeah, that's Jerry's daughter.
Jerry
That's
Kyle.
her daughter.
She had a son and a daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, I had her in class, pretty girl, but I didn't recognize that picture.
Her mom just
And
passed
I
away.
never would have got Christy Lehman down there.
Her mom just passed away last year.
Mm-hmm. Marianne passed away too.
Well, it looks like a Cybolt diving for the ball. Is that Amy Cybolt?
No, I don't think so.
I've got names from Eric on these.
Okay.
Kim Ray, Jackie Meyer, and Mindy Mulligan.
Kim Ray, okay.
Yep.
Now Kim Christine.
Juanita Brace's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really look like Jackie Meyer to me, but I guess it is.
It doesn't look like Jackie to me.
Boy, I'll tell you what, somebody is pretty quick on getting that ball right in the middle of
That's a pretty good shot, isn't it?
Yeah, and they froze the ball. They
It
must
almost, almost looks posed.
think how fast that lens had to be inside a dark auditorium to get that shot. Yeah.
An aerial shot
That's a shot of the hearse.
of the hearse coming down the street with all the balloons on it.
You got the cars a little spread out, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Well, you want the parade to look long.
Back to Republican headquarters.
Yep, there's Stan, and this guy over on the left was that Eversole, ran the highway department.
From Villa Grove.
Villa Grove's dad used to be the Democratic.
I don't know. I know I recognize Helen Ziegler and Stan Weaver.
Who's this down here? K Kleiss.
Well, it looks like Kay.
You know, I thought it looked like Kay too, but
It's not
when
because
I
she's
blew it up, I didn't think so.
There's
no.
Pete. There's Pete sitting on the
Yeah,
step.
that's Pete Cunningham sitting on the step. I think Kay was a Democrat.
Well, I know her husband, Ed, was.
Yeah.
Stan Weaver was a great guy.
Stan Weaver gave me a scholarship to college.
He never grandstanded. He never took credit for stuff. He just quietly went about his job, and he was good for Tuscola during the 70s and 80s.
Helen Fortney was running, Harold Hackett was running, and
Is there-
Marvin Jones.
Who's
Yeah.
the guy standing on the right?
In the sunglasses?
Yeah.
Not for sure.
Looked a little like Mike Meyer to me, but I can't be sure.
Like Mike?
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know.
hmm.
So, quick story I think I've told before. When I applied for a General Assembly scholarship, and I was in Bob Hastings' office. He was asking me about my plans for college. I was still in high school, writing for the paper. And so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to go or not. I applied for a scholarship and haven't heard anything back. And, my parents had four kids older than me, and a couple of them were still in college, and one had just finished. I said, they can't afford to put me through college. And he asked who I applied with. I said, Stan Weaver. He said, well, hang on. He picked up the phone, dialed a phone number by heart, said, is Stan there? Talked for about 30 seconds, hung up the phone and said, you got your scholarship.
Thank you, Bob.
Yep.
Yeah, Bob was good friends with not only Stan, but Virgil Wyckoff. Bob was, and they both liked Bob because Bob bought his ink by the gallon,
Mhm.
printed a newspaper. Well, that looks like your old, where you going to live, David? That's the old estate.
That's the old Irvin house. I'm
That's where you're gonna
surprised I
live.
didn't get any comments on these, but that's what it is. That's the Irvin house. That is in the parlor. And I've got several pictures from inside the house. They gave a tour during old fashioned days. That's when you and I and some others were trying to acquire the Irvin house for a museum.
Yeah, it turns out, unbeknownst to anybody, when I researched the title, the guy who wanted to give it away only owned half of it. The other half was in a trust in Connecticut. And I called him up, said, would you mind giving your half? And they said no. So what would have happened, David? We would have owned half of it, had to pay taxes, cut the grass, all that stuff, and couldn't really open it as a museum because we didn't own all of it.
Yeah, I lived there as caretaker for 3 years. So I was living there during this time, and that was it was a neat place. We'll see some other pictures of it.
Very historic.
This is in the kitchen.
Mhm.
That was probably the last public tour
Mhm.
before everything was sold off.
Yeah.
We'll have
Oh,
other pictures of it.
the Oakses.
Mhm.
That's Florent on the left and Dennis on the right.
Well, who's in the middle?
That's a big pumpkin.
Larry Pumpkin Seed.
Yeah.
There's Stan. This is this is in the living room of the Irvin house. And that chair the lady is sitting in, when I moved out of the house, they gave me that chair.
Mhm. It's an old Lincoln chair.
It's called a writing desk. It belonged to John Irvin. The house was bought in 1883 by Sam Irvin. Sam and John were both brothers to Nathaniel Gratt Irvin, for,
Hmm.
for whom the park is named.
Mhm.
And Richard Kidwell has that chair now because he owns the house.
Cemetery named.
So I gave it back to Richard to put back in the house.
Cemetery here?
Yeah.
No, it's just township
I
cemetery.
know before then.
Oh, I don't know. There's a big Irvin stone in that cemetery. We'll find it.
We'll find out.
Who's the lady in the chair? She giving a tour or what?
I don't know if she's giving the tour or if she's visiting.
It
Look
might have
like
been like you and I with a bad back, had to sit down.
that could be.
He
This
was also, when he was going to donate the house, he was going to donate all the glass work, which he said was worth a couple $100,000. We would have had to get an appraiser and certify that for the IRS.
this is also in the living room. That painting on the wall is by Robert Root, who was a somewhat famous artist from Shelbyville. And it's my mother-in-law, who is also from Shelbyville, has a smaller Robert Root painting that she has promised to leave me.
Well, there's a bunch of family members. I hope you don't have to fight over it.
I think my name's already on it.
Did she just paint it across the front?
I think it's taped to the back.
Do Dave.
This is in the garden house, and you drive by. This house is at 508 North Park Street. When you drive by, there's a little separate building next to the house. They called the garden house. And this is a picture of the inside of that.
That'd be nice to have you get in a fight with your wife, just go out to the garden house.
Garden house.
Pick the book.
Today they call it a man cave.
Man cave,
Looks
yeah.
like a good smoking lounge to me.
Oh, that's a good picture.
Yeah, that's Dave, and
It looks familiar.
Isn't he Southern Illinois running for office?
Go to his name tag. Yeah, we can't probably read it.
Wasn't that your buddy from Southern Illinois? Ran for.
I don't have any names on it. He looks familiar, but
Big
I think
Dave.
you're right. I think he's someone running for office.
Big Dave, 6'7".
At least. Yeah, he was a big man.
His fiance, Terry, would call to the office and say, "Hi, is tall, dark, and tall there?"
I I was driving by Century Motors one day, about this time period. I had bought, well, it would have been probably after this. I had bought a brand new car to replace the hearse. Because I was working at the paper and living in the Irvin house. I didn't pay any rent, didn't pay any utilities, so I could save my money and bought a car. And I was driving by Century Motors, and there's this cool old orange Corvette, like a
Dave.
1976 Corvette, only had 25,000 miles on it.
That's Dave's Corvette.
Yeah, I inquired about it. They only wanted $6,000 for it. I just bought that new car for $8,000. I thought I'm gonna go see if they'll trade me, and I'll buy that Corvette. And by the time I stopped in, David already bought it.
Yeah, I think it had a T-top.
Mm-hmm.
He would drive down the country road, and his head, his chin, entire head would stick above the windshield.
I don't know how he would have gotten into it.
Well, those old Corvettes, they weren't made for big guys.
But it's
They got
probably good that he had bought it because I would have tried to buy it and it probably would not have lasted. I would have driven it every day and wouldn't have lasted as long as the other car did.
don't strike me as a Corvette guy. You're more of a hearse guy.
I am more of a hearse guy, but the new car I bought was a Nissan Pulsar. My dad said I went from a car and a half to a half a car.
Yeah. This guy on the left's tearing me up. He ran for office, and I know that guy. I remember that guy.
Nobody online has produced a name.
I think he's a Southern Illinois guy running for U.S. House Representative.
If I say April Kaufman, April Wallace,
You would be correct.
That's good.
that's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Now for extra points, Bill,
That's Mickey Mouse on his thing.
what's the name of the ferret?
Oh,
That I don't
better
know.
not say it.
According to Tim Hole, that is Farrah the ferret.
April works at the health department. Really a sweet gal.
Let's see. I can't tell what color the ribbon is. Oh, first place, it says.
Mm-hmm. I guess it'd help if I put on my glasses.
Well, I'm surprised I haven't got any names because they look awfully familiar. But I was hoping you guys would know.
They look familiar to me.
Hmm.
Well, the second from right kind of looked to me like one of the Aldridge granddaughters, but I could be wrong. So maybe somebody will come up with it. I knew who these were.
Yeah.
They were the parade marshals that year.
Yeah.
And is that Cindy Bukovich driving them?
No, that's
Oh,
Adriana
Adriana Ferguson, excuse me. Adriana driving Ned's 55 black Thunderbird. Bill and Irene Rogers.
Super people.
Ned just passed away, what, a few months ago?
Yeah.
Down in Texas next to his son, Bumper.
Mm-hmm.
Irene was a sweet lady.
Irene was, I'll tell you what,
Get your corsage.
I'll tell you what, I saw, I've never seen anything like this in my life. We were playing golf up at, this was during the period when we played a lot of golf with Clark Igo and who was Gus's son-in-law, Chris Voltis, Leonard Bunny,
Right.
Chick Schroed, that whole group, and Bill played with that group.
Mm-hmm.
And we're up there at Savoy getting ready to play, and Irene pulls up in the station wagon. Bill jumps out with his clubs, and she kisses him and says, "Have a nice round, honey," and drives off. And I'm thinking, whoa, there wasn't a guy there whose wife would drive him out and say, "Have a nice round." What a sweetheart.
I think Becky would you now.
Maybe.
I think so.
But Irene was as nice to
Yes.
that guy.
Yep.
All the kids turned out great. Bob was in my class. Goose. Great kids. Bruce, Bob,
Billy's the oldest.
Billy. How many girls? 3 girls? 2 girls? Bev?
Yeah. And Barb.
I've told this story before, but it's been a while, so I'll tell it again. Rogers Floors was on Niles. Building's still there, but it was on the same block opposite of where I grew up. And so they had a little dirt hill behind the shop there that they'd use for the flowers. And we'd go down and play with our army men and our matchbox cars in the hill. But my little brother, he would go down there and he'd want to buy flowers for our mom, but he might only have 10 cents on him. And and Irene would say, "Well, how much money do you have?" And he said, "Well, I have 10 cents." And she would fix him up a bouquet of flowers for 10 cents every time.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
know,
And laugh about it.
yeah, they worked hard. And Bill, by the way, won a lot of contests. He was a very artistic guy, decorated. He was a
He
wasn't
did.
more. Now, Irene's, let's go through all of her sisters.
Oh, geez, I don't want to do that.
Tuscola,
She lived next door to her sister there when she was at the shop. That was Frances.
Frances Hedinger, and then Teeters,
Okay, that's well, that's her brother.
Albert
Albert's
Teeters.
her brother.
That's right,
Okay.
Teeters. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's still Lane.
Well,
Doris,
you've
Doris
got
Lane.
Bernice lived on Main Street. That's Bess's wife.
The Doris Lane one.
Yeah. And Schultz's,
Quite a family in
Ed
Tuscola.
Schultz's.
well, to finish my story, my brother moved up to the
Sorry, we didn't mean
Chicago,
to cut you off.
my brother moved up to the Chicago area, but as long as the Rogers owned that shop, anytime he needed flowers for any occasion, he would call them directly and have them arrange it and ship it out. And so that those 10-cent flowers paid off in the long run because he was always loyal.
Well, I think all the Tuscolans were loyal to the Rogerses. I
Yeah.
think we all bought our flowers there. They were
Well, you know what, though, now Seibolds did a pretty good business, I think.
well, they were. You're right. They were down by.
Well, they were down where the
Gas
Hillard Agency is.
Oh, they were at the gas station.
Well, gas and or, yeah, it's that block.
They were, in fact, the gas station bought
Right.
their business.
They bought the business out.
Casey's. Casey's is where his business
Right.
was.
But they had, Seibolds had a lot of plants that you would buy.
It was more, yeah, it was more jungle. You'd walk inside there and they had
Mhm.
big stuff.
Yeah, it
They
was
also
like,
had the radio station.
Well, in
Yep.
fact, you want to go way back. I think Paige and Nancy Harris ran a florist shop just west of the bank vault on that street.
I think you're right.
Seibold had WITT radio right there as well, and
No,
that was before I started writing for the newspaper. I started writing for the radio station.
Sometime around then, Fred sold the station to a U of I professor, a black guy named Rogers, I think his name was.
hmm
I did the closing, and I looked over and says, "What are you going to play? You're going to play? You're going to feature Stevie Wonder, Jackson 5, a little bit of blues?" He said, "No, I thought about a Vic Damone and Perry Como." I said, "Vic Damone and Perry Como?" He said, "Isn't that what you folks listen to down here?" I said, "No, we listen to Jackson 5."
Yeah,
I thought it was a culture clash. Vic Damone.
Vic Damone.
He wound up going bankrupt.
Well, these are these cheerleaders
Yeah.
again.
There they go.
Now we've got a few more.
That looks like
That's Tish Little. Yeah.
got a couple
Here
of people.
Cappy says,
Now I can see that's Christie. Oh, that's Tina Turner up at the top
Mhm.
on the left, and that's Christy Cappy.
Yep, and the others were named in the other picture.
Yeah, they were. How neat. 84, you said?
84.
Huh.
I included this picture because I thought Mike might have a story about him.
Oh, you know several of those
And
people.
it involves Bill Englehardt.
Yeah.
That's Paul Valadnaham up in Champaign Attorney had a group of Prairie Pioneer sodbusters, and they shot muskets. And
Wow.
I was in charge of the parade in '84, and to get them down here, I had to pay them $1 a shot, $1 a shot, and I put a cap of $50. They can't fire more than 50 times. So I worked my tail off. The parade happened that day. I'm standing down by the hospital about a block away because I wanted to enjoy what I put together. These guys come walking by,
And shot the guns.
and Bill's sitting there with 1 or 2 kids.
No, well, we had 2 at that. No, we had
Maybe
maybe
3.
Brett might have been a baby.
Anyway,
It's
Bill,
84.
I'm sitting there next to my good buddy Bill, And these guys stop, these encampment guys stop and
Mm.
fire their muskets, and Bill's kids start crying, and Bill goes, "What idiot had these people in the parade?" And I turned around and I said, "Lord knows you never spent a minute trying to do something like this.
Yeah,
We got into
yeah.
a fight.
Yeah.
I'd worked hard to get these guys in here." I think they call these people encampment people. There's some Frenchy people in there.
Well, you made the kids cry.
Early settlers, Pasquinel
Pascal coming down,
and
yeah.
McKeag. They look like them. They
Yeah.
really do. They were period dressed, but I remember that. Yeah, it scared the hell
What
out of
idiot
kids.
got these
Yeah,
people in
what
here?
idiot got these people in this parade?
I don't think I talked to you for 5 years.
Yeah, you did.
That was the outside emergency room for Jarman.
With a bedpan.
With a bedpan.
Candy.
I don't think I'd eat that candy.
And you said this is 84?
84. And Sharon Cappy said, looks like Joanne from Dietary. And Jim Irwin says, Joanne Flume, question mark.
Well, Sharon Cappy was the nurse there, head nurse. She would know. Flopsy, that's Flopsy.
Mopsy, Flopsy, Cottontail,
Floppy.
Floppy.
That's what we said.
Yeah.
It's a rabbit.
This was the office rabbit at the Tuscola Review. Bill McCarty bought it at a 4-H auction, walked in with it one day, set it down, and turned around, walked out. And it found a home there.
Mm-mm.
So Bev Hastings loved that rabbit. So this was my coworker for 6 years.
Yeah, it wrote some good columns.
Yeah.
Bear Rabbit, it wrote Bear Rabbit.
Rare rabbit.
There it is. The
There's the
Ratmobile.
purse.
There's the Ratmobile. Look at that Cadillac tail fin.
Mm-hmm.
I'd kind of forgotten that you can see it better on this one. It has an air scoop in the back for the that would catch the air as you're driving down the road and funnel it into the car. Yeah, that car had been a Shriner car, and the Shriners had painted it with a brush, and it only had, I want to say it had maybe 60,000 miles on it when I bought it. There they are with the trophies.
That looks like Jim Grimm on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, I can see Rick McGuire on the left, Richard Page, I see.
Virgil Watts
Mhm.
and
Greg.
Greg Hastings. And there's the group again.
Back to the Hill House, it looks like.
Nope.
Is that Bob? Is that Tuscola Review?
Nope.
Well, I've got my 2 guesses.
This was inside Aldridge's shop.
Story store.
Mm-hmm. Player piano.
Lauren Aldridge, great clock repair guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here we go. There's
Harlan Henderson with that hat.
Colonel, Kentucky Colonel Harlan Henderson.
Harlan Henderson watching the breakdance competition at Old Fashioned Days or demonstration. There's the band.
I was driving through North Carolina one fall, and we got interrupted for a big parade going through this town. Trying to think of the name of it. It was a Tuscola High School band, black and gold uniforms.
Hmm.
The town's not called Tuscola, but the high school is called Tuscola.
Tuscola is it Indian name, Choctaw Indians?
Well, according to local history books, no one knows where the name Tuscola came from.
Choctaw.
I'm gonna look
Apparently,
up-
when we got to the corner sale in Maine, we released the balloons.
It appears.
Standing back there in the black and white shirt looks a little like Scott Harsha to me. Can't be sure.
All the way back.
No, with the hat on.
Oh, here, Scott Harsha. Scott was really a good boy. He hit a lot of home runs for me a year I coached baseball. Seemed like he could hit a ball hard. Sadly, Scott passed away way, way too young. My goodness.
Yep.
He was a good boy.
Yep, there we are again.
Tuscola High School was Waynesville, North Carolina,
Yep.
right there.
And there you can see me driving the car
There you are.
With the beard, you hippie.
with a beard. 19,
Counterculture,
I'm 19 years old in this picture.
counterculture hippie.
And that jacket I'm wearing, I dressed up for old-fashioned days. That jacket belonged to Sam Irvin, who bought the Irvin house in 1883. It was still hanging in the closet.
That was probably pretty subtle for driving by. People go, look, there's an old jacket from 1883.
Well, I walked around dressed up after, before and after the parade.
Buck Hausman right there, great guy, lives next door to me now. Buckaroo. Mom was Charlotte, dad was Frank. Frank was a great guy. Okay, Bill, name them all.
Well, if it's Tuscola on the far left, that's a gymnastics group. That's Tony Best,
Mhm.
possibly, and then the taller girl is Lisa Alexander. Oh gosh, the far right, I should know. That's it.
According to our watchers on Facebook, it's Shelby Best.
Shelby Best. Okay. Shelby's older than Tony. Relay team.
Well, no, they're different towns, so
Oh, it's
My pictures are out of order.
it is a different town.
The second from right is Tuscola. That's Chuck Tidwell.
You know, I hadn't thought about him in a long time. I wonder whatever happened to him. I don't know if he graduated from Tuscola High School, did he?
I don't know. I don't know what happened with him. But
I think he came here with the mines. Didn't his dad work in the mines?
I don't know. They lived on was it Daggy? Lived across the street from the Adamses.
I remember asking him a question that today no one would pay any attention to, but I asked him if he was related. He came from Southern Illinois. I asked him if he was related to John Tidwell, who played basketball at Michigan. And in high school, he was on the state tournament team out of Heron or someplace. John Tidwell, captain Michigan team.
yeah. Well, that question means nothing to me.
I know.
Did he answer affirmatively or?
Oh, there was a picture of Chuck Tidwell in the News Gazette. I remember he's getting ready to go up for a lap. His legs were really muscled up. This is about 60. Was it 60s or 70s? Tidwell played at Michigan.
No, late 50s, early 60s.
I think he played against Governor Vaughn and Manny Jackson.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Chuck Tidwell. I remember that.
No one would remember
I
that
remember
either.
Chuck Tidwell.
That's
the guy.
Bumper.
Bumper Ferguson,
Bumper Ferguson,
plastic surgeon down near San Antone.
Theodore.
Ted. Bumper, as we called him.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said this 100 times. I apologize if you've heard it, but I was at his graduation. He was a graduation speaker, very bright. And he said, as we go out into life and venture down life's long way, it'll be increasingly difficult to come back to this time. I said, right on, Bumper, right on. There's Doug McCumber and his bank people.
And Doug looks real sharp in that outfit.
Yeah, this old fashioned days.
That's Juanita Brace on the left.
And that's, they live north across from the funeral home. One of the,
Yeah, I know.
one I'm married, Fritz Cross. Her sister married Fritz Cross.
Yeah.
What was her last name?
Starts with a C.
You're right.
Ken Snyder
Coon.
said from left, Juanita Brace, Denise Bosch, Doug
Oh,
McCumber,
that's
and Karen Byers.
Yeah, but wasn't she a coon?
I think you're right. Well, I recognize this guy.
Oh, that's Daryl Ferris, right?
Not Daryl. It's Daryl's nephew.
Yeah, it's
Kurt.
Daryl's Kurt.
Kurt.
Kurt. Yeah.
And
That's
there's
Kurt.
there's
Patty
Patty Phillips behind.
Phillips.
Patty Phillips behind him.
That's who you dated, right?
I didn't recognize the clown, but I know who it is.
Kurt used to come to the house. I tutored him one summer. We had a lot of fun. Is Kurt still alive, Dave?
He is. He's down in Charleston. Kurt spent a lot of time in our house growing up.
I bet.
And that with him, the clown, is
Mhm.
Daryl's son, Mike.
Oh, be darned.
Let's see. I'm looking to see if I had any. Katrina Wynn Colbecker says might be Mark Jacobs, second from right. Let's see if I have any other names. Don't guess so. I recognize those guys.
Well, it's Eric Adams.
Eric
like
Adams on the right.
Scotty Day.
Scott Day on the
Mhm.
middle.
Who's the gal?
Looks to me like Suzanne. I can never remember her name now. It was Henderson
Moody.
No.
time. She was a teacher.
Suzanne.
Well, then
Suzanne
that
Moody.
would be her then.
Suzanne Moody, formerly Henderson,
I think you're right.
math teacher.
And that Buddy in the middle is on the city council now.
It's only 40 years ago.
And Eric lives in Baltimore.
You just saw him recently, didn't you?
Yeah, I see him
Mhm.
pretty frequently. He comes back. He has a house here in town.
This is out in front of the library. Must have been some sort of contest because there's that house. That one's gone. That's the old Wolverton
Wolverton, where they-
apartment house.
Yeah,
Well,
they-
in the there are some other pictures from this event that look like it's in front of the courthouse.
That's in front of the library. Don't you think?
Yeah, it's in front of the library. It's
Look-
between Marsh's building and, yeah, right out in front by the sidewalk.
Looking south.
Yeah.
There's the library.
Suzanne loves
Oh, I
games.
guess that is the library. I was thinking, I don't know why I thought the courthouse. Yeah, there's the library.
Well, that's Tim McGlynn
Mhm.
with the mustache.
Track coach, wasn't he?
Coach track, he was, no, you're thinking Duncan McHugh, I think. McGlynn
Didn't he
was
marry?
married Statzer's daughter, Mary. And he was a music teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I saw him not too long ago. He came back for the grand opening of the theater. And he married a Tuscola girl.
Mary Statzer.
Or our sister.
Is that Mary Hance sitting there?
That is Mary Hance.
And I just talked to Mary Hance on Saturday. Married to Mark Hatfield.
Mary Hatfield.
He's
And in the back is Jeff Stinson,
Oh, Turtle.
Turtle. Yeah.
He was a manager for the basketball team. I can remember that. How do I remember that?
Well, he got so much crap up there. I don't know how you pulled it out. That looks like Amy
That is
Seibold.
Amy
Amy
Seibold.
Seibold on the right.
That's Dave Dietrich.
Dave Dietrich.
Dave Dietrich on the left, and the boy in the middle.
Yeah, but I'm just
Give
not.
us initials.
BM.
Moody.
Brian Moody.
Huh. Amy lives in Texas. Her folks
Moved down there, didn't
moved
they?
down there to be with it.
Yeah.
Be near.
Molly and Chuck went down to be closer. There's Harold.
Harold and
And
Naomi.
Naomi. Looks like Tommy Harris driving the car. I think.
I can't really tell.
Yeah, I can't tell.
Well, there's Sandy Decker. Upper right was Sandy
Carl
Decker.
Connor next to her.
Carl Connor ran for the county board versus there's Darrell Ferris, kind of head of the Democratic Party.
That's Ronnie Egan.
Yeah, but let's keep going right to left. Decker, Carl Connor, Darrell, our great friend Darrell Ferris. There's Trutha Hancock from Villa Grove, Bill Hancock's mother.
Ron Egan.
Ron Egan from Atwood.
And that's a
from Villa Grove.
Villa Grove. Starts
Shields.
with an S.
Shields.
Starts with an S, not Shields.
Oh
God.
They were
Shearer.
Shearer.
Oh, Shearer.
Yeah.
His son actually ran for Illinois rep, didn't he, Scott?
Right, something like that.
And they called the girls the Decorettes. They were Sandy was running for office, and the
One of them's Daryl's daughter.
That is Daryl's daughter in the middle, Jenny.
Mm-hmm. Same age as Caleb, my Caleb.
Pretty girl. Also my fifth cousin.
We missed Darrell when he moved down there. There's
Oh.
Dub Connor, popular sheriff, talking to Bob Kellogg.
No, can't tell. Gonna slap the cuffs on him.
Very popular sheriff.
On the to the right of Chuck.
Oh, that's Kappas, Heather Kappas.
Yep. Cheryl, Heather, and Kyle Kappas.
Mm-hmm.
According to Eric Alexander.
Cheryl, Heather, and Kyle. Yep. Boy, I like Kyle Kappas. Heather Kappas was George Barnett's girlfriend for a while. Cheryl was married to Kenny at one time. Okay, so that's Hill there, isn't it?
No.
Janet Hill.
It's Janet Hill.
Oh, Janet.
Yeah.
I was going to say Barb.
Janet's a sister to Deanne and Brookins. And Shelley Hill too. Shelley Ludwig.
Shelley Ludwig.
Yeah. The girls. Their uncle's Reggie Finn.
Sister in my class too.
I'd say it's a typewriter display.
Trying to guess the building. That's probably is that Aldridge's? Close to Aldridge?
Save more.
Save
They're
more.
on-
Save more. Yeah.
On sale.
Save more.
And those are my typewriters.
Your collection?
Yep.
You still have it?
I've got about half of them still. So these two with the keys that stand up, one here on the far left and one second from right, those are Oliver's. The one on the far right bottom is an L.C. Smith. Above that is an Underwood. Not sure about the little one. Could be a Corona portable.
Hmm.
There's another Underwood down here. This is a Blickensderfer, second from the right. And up on the top, I think the far left is probably a Remington. Not sure about the other. That's probably a Royal there in the
Good
middle.
variety.
Yep. I've got about half of them left. They're too big and heavy to move around. So
But it's hard to get parts for them.
yeah, well, you just clean them up and put them on display. But that L.C. Smith still works. When I started the newspaper in 1984, they didn't have a desk or a typewriter for me. So I brought in that L.C. Smith from my collection, and that's what I used at the newspaper for years.
Elsie Smith.
We knew Elsie Smith.
Yeah, we knew Elsie Smith.
We didn't know he
Yeah.
made it
Yeah.
to typewriter.
But those were the days when
Very-
we still typed out our copy, and then it went to a typesetter and was typed into the CompuGraphic typesetting machine. And
Well, this was an old-fashioned day display. That's a good
Mhm.
display.
Yep, that's for old-fashioned days.
See, that's across from the matinee, isn't it?
So this you see this stand on the right that the typewriter's on? I still have it. I built that in high school. Just for my typewriters. And it still has typewriters on it.
We have an old one, big old one.
Where'd you get the metal legs at? You didn't make those metal legs, did you?
I'm talking about the other stand on the right.
Hmm.
The oak
And
stand.
where's this other stand at on the right?
I don't see it.
Oh, it's just this little piece of wood here. I was pretty impressed on the
Oh.
left over there, David. See the wood?
Yeah. I
Go to the
see it
left,
now.
David. I was impressed if you made that.
Yeah.
Poured the cast iron into a
Yeah,
mold.
that's pretty tough to do.
Yeah, no, I made this stand
Yeah.
here for my typewriters.
I can see it now.
So I started collecting typewriters in high school.
There's
There it
Florin,
is.
Mr. Aldridge.
Mr. Aldridge. Florin, very gentle man.
And you know who the woman is?
Well, give us initials.
Oh, that's Dietrich.
Donna.
Donna
Hmm.
Dietrich.
Yep.
And there's the player piano again inside Aldridge's. I don't know who the boy is.
Hmm.
Well, this is the drag the duck contest.
That's why it wasn't a great picture.
How far can you drag a duck?
Wasn't a great picture, but I included it because I thought that's pretty funny that the duck was not cooperating.
Hey, that's about a 2-mile walk too. That's a long walk.
Ducks had enough.
Yeah, duck says I'm done. It's looking south on Main Street across at the old Hillard Agency at the time, probably. In the 60s, it was Hillard Agency, then CSX, I think.
According to Linda Middleton, this is her and her daughter Abigail. And their lop-eared bunny.
Is that her son with her?
It's Doc Middleton.
That Doc?
Looks like
Or
him.
their son wouldn't be old enough, would he?
No, not there.
And
40 years ago.
I believe I know the guy in the background.
Kidwell.
That's Richard Kidwell. And that's it. Apparently one of the pictures didn't make it that I had up here, but oh well.
Oh,
Anyway, that's it.
well, we needed one more to really make it fit.
Well, let me see if I can.
Didn't you think we need one more to close it out?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of premature to end on that one.
Yeah, it really is.
I think our boys were in that parade dressed up as clowns with their dog.
Okay.
Oh, is this it?
Mhm. And you
Wait,
can see the comments. Eric Alexander says Todd Burris and April Hanner. But Jerry Hall says it's his oldest daughter, Erica.
and Doug Opperman, but then according to Dennis Opperman, that's not Doug.
That's not Doug.
No, Eric says it's Todd Burris, but he also says April Hanner. I don't think that's April.
And here it says it's Chad Perry.
Yeah. Let's see what Lisa says. Lisa says I would say definitely Todd Burris.
I was going to say Todd Burris if his hair was, he's running, so it's standing up.
And
Bill Burris's son.
So that on the right is what you call a Facebook scrum.
yeah, the Todd I think was in my brother Matt's class, so he'd probably be a freshman in this picture. So I don't know why that picture didn't get included.
Well, we got it included. We got it in
We
there.
included it now.
And we saw the email scrum there.
Very good.
You think before we die, we'll ever get on email?
Well, we'll get on email. You're talking
Facebook.
Oh, Facebook.
Yeah, that's the Facebook thing that they all
Facebook.
respond to.
Yeah, I've never seen that
Everyone
before.
gets the answers before you and I just come in here blind. And
Have you ever been on Facebook?
yeah, I have over the years,
I never have.
but well, you're not missing anything.
I think my life is okay.
I think you're better off without it. I do. The one that they say is what's taken over, Twitter or whatever, X, who knows?
Well, it
True
changes
social.
all the time. I think X
So,
is not as not used as much as it was.
What, Facebook
yeah,
No,
or X?
X. I think Facebook is young. The young people don't use Facebook.
They use Instagram.
They use Instagram and they use I don't know. There's some different ones they use.
What's Instagram look like now? I've never been on that. I have no clue what that is.
I don't really know. I mean, I've seen it, but I've never got. I don't have an account on it.
I'll ask my grandson. He'll show me.
well, I would have, had I been working in the federal government when Musk sent out all those firings based on a X, I never would have even known about it because
You would have just kept working.
I kept working.
According to Google, the most popular social media platforms globally by user count are Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, WhatsApp, followed by TikTok, WeChat, and Telegram.
Where's X at?
X is not on the list.
Where's True Social? Trump's thing.
It's not on the list of the most popular.
Could you get on Truth Social?
Could I?
Yeah.
I
I
could.
mean, is that possible to?
Well, his computer would explode.
I could, yes. Will I? No.
Well, I mean, I'm just asking if you can do that. You know, you'd get a lot of 3 o'clock in the morning
Now, what do you mean YouTube?
text.
How do you communicate through YouTube? I thought that was just videos and stuff.
Well, you can comment on videos.
But I mean, if you want to just correspond with people and have a scrum, is YouTube a good format for
You
that?
could, well, I don't know. It's considered part of social media, but yeah, I mean, you can do comments on YouTube.
Let me ask you this: is email considered social media?
No.
That's direct communication. You think we're behind?
I'll tell you what, buddy, you ain't ahead.
We don't get a lot of comments on ours. Hello and welcome back to the Remembering Tuscola. I don't want that audio playing. See if I had any comments. Yeah, we have for instance, here I'll share it. Okay, so there's one of our videos on YouTube from March 13th. And Greg Albritton commented, "Hey, my spring breaks was coming home and going to work." We must have been talking about spring break. So yeah, people do comment occasionally. And you could, continue that conversation in that section.
Well, we enjoy it.
So I read about these influencers I've never heard of that have 2 million followers or 800 million followers or 550,000 followers. They're just thousands and thousands and thousands. Where are all the followers at? They just sit home and bounce around? Do they not have a life or a job?
Well, I mean, it's like anything, those numbers can be deceptive. Like on Facebook, your Facebook might say that you've got, X number of friends.
I know that's
My Facebook account says I have 895 friends on Facebook. Those are the number of people who have connected with me on Facebook.
He's a social butterfly.
Now, how many of those 895 are actually seeing my posts? Probably a dozen.
how many friends do Bill and I have on Facebook?
We don't
None.
because we're not on Facebook.
Well, that would explain it.
Yeah. Maybe we need one of those sites. What do they call them? OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
Yeah, you pay to be a subscriber or whatever.
Never heard of it.
That's a lot of tawdry stuff on that particular platform.
Yeah.
Well, if there's money being changed,
you could give golf lessons on OnlyFans. You could get, well, I'd sign up.
I mean, do I stand up and have a camera? And go
most of them, I think most of them are scantily dressed.
Yeah, they're showing off their underwear and they're.
I told you some years, I wrote an article about this for your paper, Dave. I read where Wall Street Journal an article about this influencer made more money than the CEO of Ford Motor Company.
Yeah.
Who was she influenced?
Well, I looked her up. I somehow got on YouTube and looked her up, and she's out by the pool in a bikini dancing to music. And I'm going, well, this is soft porn. This is, you go to the art theater to watch this stuff, I'm waiting for the top to come off. She's just dancing. She actually had dance lessons. She was a good dancer. She's dancing porn by the pool. I'm thinking, she made $14 million.
Well, what happens with a lot of those is they pay into a fee to get followers, and then it grows from there, because the more followers you have, the more they recommend you to other people, and the more like on Facebook, the more likes and comments you have, the more it elevates it in the algorithm, so you get more and more and more.
That's why people then pour their advertising money into the biggest.
Yeah, so you can do it organically. Like the Remembering Tuscola page is, of course, all organic. So we have on Remembering Tuscola, we have 4.6 thousand members.
And we're organic.
It's organic, meaning we haven't ever paid.
Never had organic lately.
We have not paid any service to get members.
Dave, what do you mean we're organic?
Organic means that it happens naturally.
Oh boy, thank you.
Thank you.
What did you think? I said organic, not orgasmic.
Oh, okay. That's what Bill like. I think when did we become orgasmic? David, you're throwing us off.
Oh God, Doge is going to come and get us.
Doge. You look in the dictionary under waste, fraud, and inefficiency, there's a picture of you and I. Yeah. What a deal.
But yeah,
What
so
times we living through. What great times be mentally ill times.
and
This is
that's what,
mental.
that's one of the problems I'm having, with my books. I've not published yet. If you self-publish and you just put it on Amazon or Barnes and Noble and you tell your friends and you post on your own social media and you might sell 100 books.
Hmm.
But you can buy these marketing programs that will push that book onto other social media sites and get it in front of influencers. And pretty soon your book starts to take off because it's a numbers game. And I have a little bit of a problem buying, you can buy reviews of your book. Well, I'm not paying somebody to review my book.
What if they don't like it?
We reviewed
Oh,
Joe's.
yeah.
I remember
Yeah,
doing Joe.
but those reviews are very important because the reviews influence other people to buy your book. And the more reviews you have, the more positive reviews, the
Right.
more people will buy your book. So what a lot of people do is they'll take and they'll buy a dozen reviews, or they might buy 50 reviews, and that gets their numbers up, and then that gets them higher up on the algorithm, and now it pops up as a bestseller because more people bought their book. So it just grows and grows, and that's what happens a lot with these influencers. They use these services to boost their numbers, and then they take off from there.
Are you and Bill and I, are we considered influencers?
Absolutely.
Or are we more orgasmic?
They're, well, not for a while probably, but
I don't understand, David.
I don't either. We're influencers. You influence me all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bet I do.
It's sort of like that saying, uh, everybody causes joy. Some when they enter the room, some when they exit.
No, yes, there you go.
That's the old golf shot
We're
joke.
about ready to exit now, I
That's
think.
that's the old golf shot joke. Every golf shot makes somebody happy.
Right.
Yeah. Well, what a deal. Well,
Well,
we're glad we're in the middle of Tuscola in a nice little county while the world goes crazy.
there you go.
You influence people. You'll probably influence Bill on where to grab a sandwich today.
I leave it up to Bill.
I make those decisions.
Well, when you're footing the bill, then it's your decision to make.
True.
I don't know why he wants to buy all the time.
But you'll let him.
Well, if it gives him joy,
It gives me joy.
Mhm.
Joy, joy, joy.
he doesn't know what to do with his money
Was
anyway.
Joy an influencer?
Joy. Who's influencing her in high school?
Well, you know what? The word influencer, I've heard that before, but now it's coming up every day now. It's just
I can't believe
influencer,
how many
influencer.
young kids say I want to be an influencer. I don't.
Well,
Basically, they're salesmen.
You
I know
know,
one. There's a black guy in the Wall Street Journal they talked about in New York City that washes the windshields,
yeah.
and he records it, talks to them, and he made like 6 million last year.
Yeah.
Not
Some of them are
from windshields, but from
people must
oh,
be awfully bored.
that's what
anything that's interesting or cute. There's a kid makes a ton of money that reviews toys.
yeah.
And he got to the point where the toy companies would send him toys to review because it helped with their sales. And so then he, starts getting advertising money from it.
So is this the death? This is part of the death of newspapers because all the advertising money's going into the social media. Is that right?
Well, a lot of it is free, so that kind of hurts any paid media. Um, but yeah, a lot of it is going into social media. But those are mostly on a national scale. Um, so probably more of an influence on that is when you play games on your phone, these ads pop up, and the technology's gotten to the point where you can buy an ad on there, and you can say, I only want the ad to appear on phones within these zip codes. I only want my ad to appear for users who are between these ages, and I only want users who are men. So there's all kinds of different settings that you can choose where you want your ad to appear, and so it's very targeted marketing.
And with an iron horse.
Hmm.
So I understand, when they always have these pop-up ads all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I read somewhere where I don't want to read the ad, but even if you walk up and just hit the X to get rid of it, that's a hit worth 10 cents or something. If they open it, it's $1.
Well, that's one way
they've got this thing down to where.
That's one way if people pay for it is if you click the ad, then they get charged for that. Not all the plans are the same. Some of them but a lot of them are and that's why they call it clickbait a lot of times. So you pay X number of dollars. Like if you want a campaign on Facebook, they'll put your ad in front of different people. You can select who you want it to go in front of, and then when you've reached your limit, your ad comes off. So, like when I'm listening to Spotify, listening music through Spotify, which is an app, um, I get local ads. I get ads for Decatur Hospital all the time because they know where my computer is, so they are targeting that ad to people who live within a certain radius of Decatur.
Well, you'll get your brain surgery over there, you think?
Oh,
Hey, you go on YouTube to see a video, like
mhm.
Remembering Tuscola, our show on YouTube, not Facebook, YouTube. And someone clicks on that. Is there some sort of payment on that? If there is, you've been shortchanging me.
Well, you have to get to a certain level before you start making, because YouTube will sell advertising on the videos, and they don't even put the ads on if you're not getting a certain level of hits. So our videos, you go on there, you're not going to see an ad on our videos because we're not at that level. But if you get, and
So we're not that organic.
no, we're not. Well, we could be. I have a YouTube channel, and people can subscribe. So that way, whenever we post a new video, which we do every week, then they'll get a message, hey, you got a new video to watch. Um, so that's one way you build your audience.
Hmm.
And it's just, if you're doing it organically, it takes a lot of time because it builds slowly. But yeah, you can spend a little money and boost those numbers.
Let me ask you what this is, David. When I go into my computer, if I'm writing an article, I'll sometimes go to Google or Safari just to research stuff,
Mhm.
search the history of World War II or something.
Okay.
And during that research, ads pop up, but the ads are always targeted exactly what I like. It's watches, it's stoneware, it's golf clubs. So
That is probably because your
looking
phone,
at my eBay history and somehow is shared and
your
knows.
phone, your phone and your computer are these days typically connected. You have a smartphone and your accounts are connected. Your phone is listening. So if you're talking about golf clubs, may you and Bill sit there and talk about golf clubs for 30 minutes. You'll start seeing ads for golf clubs because your phone hears you.
It's not a person, it's my phone.
Yeah.
Harold's listening.
Harold, your phone Harold.
So is that the objection to TikTok that Trump originally banned and now he likes because he won the presidency? Is that what they're saying? The Chinese use that as a data trove on Americans?
Well, I think the concern there is that they're collecting personal information on
Right.
their users. Yeah. So they're
I,
not
I,
just,
if they want to reverse it, they can collect the information and use it to turn around and send propaganda somehow in their ads or whatever.
That or all kinds of nefarious ways you can use personal information. What happens on Facebook a lot is someone will create an account in the name of someone else. They'll look at your account, see your friends' names, and then they'll send you friend requests, and they try to gather information, and eventually they want credit card numbers and other personal information. And the more personal information that you have, the more legitimate you seem. So if I collect, uh, if I go on and I'm nefarious and I go on with a fake account, but I'm friends with Mike Carroll and I'm friends with Bill Englehardt, then your friends will start seeing, oh, this must be legitimate because we have mutual friends. And so you click OK, I'll be your friend. Well, now I've got another friend that I can now use to try to to build that page up. And eventually people fall into traps of sharing too much personal information.
Well, we just let it on the air here.
Yeah, I think we did.
If anybody
Well, we
wants,
haven't given them our credit card numbers.
No.
we don't have credit cards.
Well, if you'll just give me your bank account routing number and account number, that'll be enough.
Oh, okay. I can bring that next week.
So if you had to characterize the social media landscape as it unfolds, is it a great blessing? Is it a sewer, or is it somewhere in between?
It's a mixed bag.
So it's a great sewer.
It's a great sewer.
Well, I don't miss it. I don't think I miss anything.
You're not missing anything.
Uh,
What we're missing is Olga Hall.
Yeah, personal touch, face to
I
face.
yeah, I use it, we use the newspaper uses it. We post obituaries as they come through because the newspaper only comes out once a week. So we're able to post those obituaries as soon as we get them. And then people can go to our page and they can see, if they want to go to a visitation or a funeral, they've got that information before the paper comes out. So there are good things that you can do with it. Uh, we don't do as much as we should with this, but let's say we go to an event and we shoot 400 pictures. Well, we can only use two or three in the newspaper, but we could post 400 onto social media. So people could then go to the page and click through the pictures. It's just like our out of the past. We use one out of the past picture from Tuscola every week, but I just showed you 60 pictures.
Mhm.
I can put a lot more on social media and there's no cost to do it.
And it's forever.
Theoretically.
Wow,
It's a coming.
it's a coming.
Yeah, you can go back and I'll share real quickly on our
And there's a thing we could do about it. And if you think it's coming for you, that's me.
Vanity.
so you see the Remembering Tuscola.
Right?
Oh, here we are.
We can go to media and we can go to albums and there's all of our videos
Yeah.
that we have done. Or all the pictures anyway. These aren't the videos, these are just the pictures. So you can go back and say, "Oh, I remember there's a picture." Well, you can look through.
Stop that, go their way.
So you can click on this is from February. We can click on it. And there's our February pictures.
How neat.
Go back a little bit. I saw somebody there.
Did you?
Go back.
He saw
Go
someone.
back to the original sheet. Scribe down. Scribe backwards, down. Go down.
Oh, I'm gotta go.
Back up and then down. Okay. Well, keep going a little bit. Pete Kelsey. Oh, I saw Dick Hine here. There you go. Oh, no, that isn't Dick Hine. Right there. Who's that? Stop there.
Well, there's Dr. Steiner.
Yeah, who's that next to him? Oh, there's golfer right there. I want to see that golfer.
Fred Bass.
Fred Mabry Bass. That's where the golf course is. We bought their farm.
We didn't get this guy's name.
No, that was those famous Pettit photos.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were great.
Jim Lemna,
But yeah, we post them every week, but once they're there, they
Well,
stay there.
Hopkins, Keith Tingley. Boy, oh boy. Wow. Who's the girl? That Joyce Thomas?
That's Joyce Thomas. Sure looks like Dee Dee Harbaugh.
Look over here. Yeah, it does look like Dee. That's Carol. Right there on the right.
Carol Teeters.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
But-
we've already done these pictures.
Well, no wonder we're getting them all right.
Huh? Yeah.
Okay, that's great. You get us lost in the 50s here. Okay, that's
We're
wonderful.
kind of lost anyway.
So you understand all this modern stuff, right?
Oh, he's
Well,
up.
to
Yeah.
some degree.
He's
We-
Mr.
The
AI.
young kids know way more than you,
Oh yeah.
or you,
Oh yeah. There were, and the AI stuff. We got a little bit of time here, don't we? Let
we're
me.
not
Huh?
dead yet. We're getting there.
Let me. Let me show you something else here. I may have showed you this before. Okay, so this was. I just made uh, for the Douglas County retired teachers. I made this image for their Facebook group, and that's all AI. So what I want to do is show you. Think of something you want to see.
Olga Hall,
Well, not that specific.
a golf club.
Okay, so I want to put in. I want a golf club. Okay, and I can pick different styles if I wanted. I can say art. You want a photo of a golf club or art of a golf club?
Driver head.
Golf club driver head. Do you want a picture or you want a drawing?
See a picture.
Photo. Okay. So I hit generate. And now you can see it's working there. It's almost done. And it's going to provide me with a picture. Now there I put a golfer in it.
Well,
Why?
That's the head of a golfer.
it's ahead of a golfer.
The head of a driver.
Well, let's just say golf club.
But-
Generate.
You and I couldn't even get
I mean,
this.
it's got a golf club in the picture, but for some reason it's wanting to put people in. There's a golf club,
Yeah, there's a golf club.
and there's another one. So this is AI generated. Now let's say over here, I want to add
Yeah.
a golf bag.
Okay.
So I type in golf bag, generate.
Don't say golf hag.
Yeah. So now it's zipping along. You can see it doesn't take very long. This thing now there's a golf bag, and it will give me 2 or 3 choices. Doesn't look like a golf bag to me, but
No.
um,
Friends.
so let's say I want instead of a golf bag, I want a tall golf bag.
Now, is this free or does your paper have to buy this AI?
This is Photoshop beta. So I subscribe to the Adobe
that's
products.
Photoshop.
Okay, so there's a golf bag. There's
Photoshop Alpha. Yeah, that's a funny golf bag.
yeah.
That's-
That,
Go
that
back.
was that was a little better.
Those other ones. Go back to the other golf bags.
Yeah, they're a little distorted. They're not
Right. But
They're
it's
for-
doing it. And
they're for small people.
That's Dorothy.
Now let's say back here, I want to add.
Thunderstorm.
Well, I'm just going to add. Let's add a
Airplane.
fancy house.
well, you could really do some funny things with this, couldn't you?
So there's got some houses in the background,
Wow.
different ones. And you see how it just blends in. Now you mentioned the sky, so I can circle the sky and I can say
Thunder,
stormy sky.
tornado, tornado destroying house.
There's something it won't let you do if it thinks it's harmful. So now you got a stormy sky,
Okay, it's coming in.
and let's
Oh,
say you
this,
want
the shaft is gone.
Look,
yeah, the shaft is gone. Okay, let's say tornado. Not a very good tornado. Those are those aren't very good. So I can dump those off and I can say, what happened to our shaft here? We want to put that golf club shaft. Put a shaft back on. See if it'll understand it. You know, a lot depends on the keywords that you use and how you do it. Okay, there put a shaft back on.
Mm.
But you see how it's just all integrated in the photo? I mean, it looks like one image. And
And
so I could put back here, I want to put a golfer in the background.
put Tiger Woods. Put a
Well, I
person
don't see Tiger Woods is a branded name.
you gotta pay for.
I don't know that it would give me Tiger Woods, but there it gives me a golfer and it gives me several to choose from.
Mm.
But I could add a mouse.
You know, you ought to send this to Iron Horse for their front door.
So zipping on, there's a mouse. Not very good ones, but you can see how fast and easy it is to just create an image.
They only give you like 3 or 4 examples. Is that, I thought they fed everything in the world into these things.
Well, I can hit generate again if I didn't like any of those mice. It gives you 3 at a time. So when it's generating, it's not just thinking about one, it's
Hmm.
thinking about
So
options for you.
basically, I could sit here all day long and do this.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. And you can take and now it will take some of that background with it, but I could take and move that mouse around and then tell it to
I might have that club swat that mouse.
blend background.
Yeah. Mash the mouse. Uh,
So it's thinking about it. Oh, there it took the mouse out, blended in back in with the background. But yeah, I mean the things you can do with AI these days.
Go back to your teachers thing. So why do you need graphic artists anymore or artists at all?
Well, that's the thing. That's it's putting a lot of people out of work. Where's my window? There you go.
That's a nice image you got there.
Yeah, and there's actually several elements here. There's the background. I added the apple. I added the flag, and then of course I added the wording on top.
How long did that take? About an hour?
10 minutes at the most. Yeah, so that's one. There's another one I'll show you since and I actually have used this especially for a um the magazine that we put out, the
Room for
broom BBM broom corn. So let's see. I gotta find the right Okay, so this is called Chat GTP. So let's say I want to write a 1,500 word essay on
Broomcorn.
broomcorn. Here's a detailed essay on broomcorn.
That's crazy. Wow.
They type faster than me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look how fast it goes.
Yeah.
And I could take and copy this and put that in the magazine because there's no authorship attached to it. There you go. There's your article.
Wow.
So is that plagiar? Do you have to reveal you used AI?
No,
So there's no plagiarism problems.
nope.
Wow.
They write a story. Let's see about Mike Carroll and Bill Englehardt
Oh, hey.
in Tuscola, Illinois.
I don't even know if I want to read this. Now in their late 40s.
It's just a story. Wow.
That's a
Oh,
story.
Yeah. I I didn't know we had an old mill here in town.
I
we
didn't
do
either.
now. Where's our girlfriends?
People write whole books
I
using
know.
AI.
Pseudo write. They got a thing called pseudo write that'll write a novel for you. All you do is give it the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Uh,
So
right,
humans are no longer needed except to hit the button.
write a 500 word essay about the Remembering Tuscola Facebook group. That's pretty good so far.
Yeah, I guess so.
So if I wanted to do a story in the newspaper about the Remembering Tuscola Facebook group, I could just do this.
Yeah.
That's competent and good, but I always heard the AI writing is kind of boring. It doesn't have the zingers you and I would put in it.
It is not as good as you and I would do
Okay,
this.
as long as we
Correct.
agree on that. But it doesn't have any, it doesn't believe in satire. It's not great at humor
It's not great at humor.
Someone might say we're not either.
no, no. Well, we're seriously trying to remember people. We're not
But
about
it
humor.
does it in a way that, you could take it and publish it. Like, it's similar to, Google kind of does the same thing that you could ask Google the same questions and it's going to give you information, but it's not going to put it in a text for, a story format like Chat GPT does.
Just think about this. This is the infancy. And NVIDIA is coming out with their latest chip is 100 times faster than Blackwell. And Blackwell was unbelievably fast.
Yeah.
And they're coming up with reasoning, logically reasoning programs so it could argue with us.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I've done is, like on the magazine, I'll say, write a 1,000 word essay or a magazine article about how Trump's tariffs will impact, corrected my spelling, will impact the
How about inflation?
broom and brush
Okay, there you go.
manufacturing industry.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I could take and copy this and put it in the magazine. And a lot of times here you can see the sources. There's White House, Barron's, the Australian, NPR.
But it's fed this data. There's no way it qualitatively talks about what data is better than others, what research is better than others, right?
Well, it is going through the internet and it is selecting what it thinks is the most relevant and reliable information. So you can see
Can it
they're not.
distinguish between a politician covering his ass and some scientist actually studying it?
I don't know what their algorithm is, but you can see there's no Wikipedia. There are, the White House is a good source, NPR, these are TV, media sources. Uh, and it's comparing information to each other to help determine the validity of
Within a
that
couple
information
seconds. Within a couple seconds.
within seconds. I mean, you saw how fast that was.
Yeah.
It has selected this information to create that story.
I'll tell you right now, John Henry is going to lose out to the steam engine, right?
Yeah. Steel driving man.
Anything else you want to ask it?
No, I'm depressed enough right now.
No.
Uh,
I'm going to write an article on how humans can write better than AI by not using AI.
well, if you're depressed, Mike, here are some immediate actions you can take.
Oh, good.
Is that drugs? Free drugs?
Talk to someone, move your body, practice self-care, long-term strategies. There you go. If you're in crisis, call 988. I mean, isn't that incredible? It's just how fast.
Yes, it is.
That,
It is.
that depresses me to read about all the depression cures.
Mhm.
Oh well.
Oh, well.
I did
Okay.
write.
David,
David, you've pounded home the message that Bill and I are troglodytes.
I did write a column using AI one time.
I know you said that.
Yeah.
Bill and I are dinosaurs, and it's okay.
Yeah. We would like to have that 1960 hearse.
Yeah.
Be fun to drive around town.
I wouldn't mind final drive, but as long as it's not raining.
Yeah. I mean, this is, I'll do one more because I did this for practice one time. Uh, Write a newspaper story about Jenny Porter in Tuscola, Illinois, retiring after teaching kindergarten for 36 years.
Hmm.
Beloved kindergarten teacher Jenny Porter retires after 36 years. Taught generations of students at Northwood. Look at that. It knew where she taught.
Well, if you ask it about retired Judge Mike Carroll, would it say beloved judge?
Well, we'll ask it. But isn't that amazing that it searched the web and found that Jenny Porter taught at Northward and included that. Look at that. Fresh out of Eastern Illinois University. She went to Eastern Illinois University. So that's probably on a LinkedIn page or Facebook or something. Oh, look at this. They even found a quote from a parent. I don't know where they would have found that. Oh, This didn't happen. School organized retirement celebration in Tuscola Community Center. That didn't happen.
Mm.
Well, there's another quote. Yeah, some of this, you got to be a little careful because some of this did not happen. But
I was going to say,
David, one of the strategies of Elon Musk is and he's probably right. He can reduce the federal government by 50%. He's going to replace it with computers.
how many years were you on the bench?
7,
7?
I think.
Okay, here's a story about you retiring.
It doesn't say beloved.
Were you appointed in 2017? You ran.
he ran.
Judge Carroll has been a steady and respected presence in our court, said fellow judge, whose name you have to make up. Community leader. A lot of this stuff, because you've not had a strong internet presence, they're not going to have a lot of, oh, look, they've got a quote from you. So it came up with something, whether it's true or not.
It didn't say beloved.
Did not say beloved.
Unbelievable. Well, Bill, I got to go get a hamburger and talk about this future.
Yeah.
I mean, we act like we're just now learning about it. Hell, it's been here for 10 years.
Yeah, we knew it was here.
We knew it was here. We just avoided it.
All right, we'll see you next week on Remembering Tuscola.